This is the week 1 video for Pirates PvT, and in this session I'm going to analyse this piece of sheet music. And as a musician, if I was to put this music on a stand or on my piano and play it, I would just need to look at the notes. But it could be that you have absolutely no idea of what this means. So in this first session, we're going to break it down, and that's what analysis is all about. It's about taking it to pieces and having a look to understand how it works. So let me begin by just drawing this arrow here. And the numbers that you see there, that's called the time signature. We might also hear it referred to as the meter of the music. And the meter of the music tells us how many beats there are in a bar. In fact, it tells you how many of what kind of beats they are. So we first need to understand where the bars in our music are. So let me change my pencil to black. I'd like you to do the same. Bar 1 actually starts right here. Okay, because we don't start at the beginning of bar 1. We start in beat 3 of bar 1. We'll come to that in a moment. Bar 2 starts here, so I'll put a 2 in a circle there. Bar 3 there, bar 4, bar 5, bar 6, just ignore that little number there, bar 7, bar 8, and bar 9. I've created the bar numbers to be like this, and the reason I changed that one there is because they will correspond to the same bar numbers that you'll use in GarageBand when you make this project. So there are 9 bars of music for us to understand here. And if I go back to my orange pen there, you'll see that as well as thinking about meter, the other element of music that's going to be really important to begin with is duration. Duration's all about how long each of our note values is. And we can choose to have a note of any length, or in fact a rest of any length, where we have a period of silence. And it's important when you start to learn to read music to know what these different values are. So just underneath here, I will draw this note. So I've drawn an open circle with a stem on it like this. And I'm going to draw a dot after it. And that's known as a dotted minim. That's the technical term for that, a dotted minim. And a dotted minim is worth 3 beats. And there's only one in this whole piece of music, and it's in bar 9. So you know where bar 9 is now because we've just written that on. So over the top of that note, I'm going to write a number 3 to remind myself that that is a 3-beat note because of its shape. Now there's quite a number of other notes that look very similar to the dotted minim. You probably worked this out already. Just an open circle with a stem on it is just called a minim because it has no dot after it. And a minim is worth 2 beats. So as we look through the music, there's a minim at the beginning of bar 2. So let's label that. At the beginning of bar 3. At the beginning of bar 6. And at the beginning of bar 7. Next we have this one, where the note head is filled in, and then the stem, and then we have a dot. So that's another dotted note, because it's got the dot after it. And that's called a dotted crotchet. And that's worth 1.5 beats. And if you think that that is a little bit more confusing, because we've got the half, well, I suppose it is a little bit, but you'll see as we go along, they're not that difficult to understand. So there is only one dotted crotchet in this whole melody, and it's here in bar 5. You might have already thought of this because I have that shape without a dot, and that's a crotchet, and they're 1 beat. And there are some 1-beat notes in here. So in bar 4, there's 3 1-beat notes. In bar 8, there's 3 1-beat notes. And that helps us to clearly see there are 3 crotchet beats in a bar, which is what that 3/4 meant at the beginning. So you can have all sorts of different time signatures, and when you write your own music, you can have whichever time signature you want. The time signature will change the feel of the music, because when I count 3 time, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It has a certain feel to it because of where the 1, the strongest first beat of the bar happens. If I was to count 4 beats in a bar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. No, so I'm emphasizing the 1 each time. The music of 4/4 time would have a different feel to music of 3/4. Okay, there's only one other duration that we haven't used, but we need to look at it in a couple of different ways. So the last one has a stem and then a tail at the top, just like that. And this is called a quaver. And a quaver is half a beat long. Now, if I have 2 quavers joined together, or that happen next to each other in the same beat, I wouldn't draw them separately like that. I draw them like this, which is a shape that you can probably now recognise on the music above there. So let's have a look to see if we can find where all the quaver notes are. So right in bar 1, so I've got 2 halves there. And look, it's a feature of this music, these 2 quavers together. So I can put them in there. If you add up all the numbers in each of these bars, you'll find that all the bars add up to 3. There we go. So there's just one more note. I don't know if you've spotted it yet. One more note that I haven't annotated, and it's in bar 5. It's at the start of bar 5, and it's just a single quaver on its own with that tail. So that's just a half beat note. And there we go. We've analysed the durations of this melody. So durations altogether, when you think of them as a pattern, that creates an element of music, beginning with R, which is a rhythm. So if I was now to clap this rhythm to you, I'm going to start by counting beats 1 and 2 in bar 1, and I'll come in on beat 3, because that's where this piece of music starts. And that's got a special term that it starts on beat 3, or rather not on beat 1 of the bar. And that special term is an anacrusis. So that's a word that you can maybe remember for the future. Okay, so I'm going to clap this rhythm to you. 1, 2. There we go. So by working out all of the durations of the notes, I was able to clap that rhythm. And that's the first half of our analysis. The second half is all to do, I changed my pen colour here, I'd like you to do the same please. The second half is all to do with pitch. And the first clue that we've got to do with pitch is this symbol here. And this symbol that we have at the start of the music is called a treble clef. And all that really means is that we're talking about the higher pitched notes. If you imagine a piano, the treble clef deals with the right half of the piano. And we have another clef called the bass clef that deals with the left half of the piano. And to know which notes to play, because we've obviously just worked out the rhythm, to know which notes each pitch should be on, we need to look very carefully at where the dots appear on the stave. The stave is the 5 lines. Okay, so let's just draw you something at the bottom here. If I draw my 5 lines out, 2, 3, 4, 5. I draw my treble clef as neatly as I can. Okay, now the first thing we need to think about is a note on a line, or is it in a space? And you've got to start getting used to saying that. So on a line. So that's an example of one on a line, because the line's going through the middle of it. The opposite to on a line is in a space. So there's only those 2 possibilities. And this note here is in a space, because it's got the space going through the middle of the back of it. Now a note in the space spells a word. From the bottom to top, it spells the word face, F-A-C-E. So if a note is in that bottom space, if the dot or the note head of that note is in that bottom space, that note is F. If it's in the next space up, it's A. If it's in this space, it's C. And if it's in that space, it's E. Okay, so all you really need to remember is face from bottom to top. Just take those out for a second. If it's on a line, we remember this rhyme. Every good boy deserves football. So we're really interested in the first letter of each of those words. E, G, B, D, F. So this note here that we already worked out is on a line is on the second line up. If it's on the second line up, it's going to be G. So underneath the note, it's quite difficult to do in that space, is a G, okay? We can also look for where else within the melody there's a G. So that in the bar 1, there's a G there, because this is on the second line up. A G there. A lot of people always ask me, what about if the note's upside down? Well, it just makes it a little bit easier to read. It doesn't change the pitch or the rhythm. So don't worry about that too much for the moment. So there's all the G's. Right, we've done that. Now, have we got any notes that are on this bottom line that would be E? Yes, we do. So let's fill in the E. And there's one there in bar 5. And I think that's all the E's. Right, okay. Let's have a think about notes in a space. So this one here, that's in the second space up, is A. So I can find all the ones in the second space up. That's quite interesting, isn't it, in bar 2, because I've got two A's that happen after each other, but they're different lengths, different durations. So you can see how they compare to each other there. Let's carry on filling in the A's. Lots of A's. That's because of the key that we're in, but we'll leave that for another day. There we go, there's all the A's. Okay, what about the notes that are on the middle line? The B. There's one there. One there. One there. And one there. Okay, motoring now, we're getting the hang of this. Let's have a look at the notes that are on C in the third space up. So that's a C. Bar 3. Same again. Bar 7. And then it looks like there's just one more note that we haven't worked out. It's that one there on the fourth line up, which is D. Every good boy deserves football. So, fourth line up is a D. And there we go. Okay, so we've now analysed that whole melody. I'm going to play the melody back to you on my piano over here. And this is not something that I'm asking you to do today. I'm not asking you to perform your rhythm or your melody. I just want you to fill in your notes on your sheet like I've done there. But you'll hear as we continue in the next few weeks that you'll be able to create this on your iPad. So here we go. 1, 2. There we go, and you might well recognise that as music from the Pirates of the Caribbean. Okay, so well done for watching all the way through, and you just need to complete this task, you need to finish annotating all of the orange and green parts just like I've done today.